Last video, we went over how to stay upright in the dip drive and keep that bar going in a straight line over your midline. But what we didn't talk about, what we're going to touch on in this video, is the position of your feet during the split in the receiving position of the jerk. So even if you have a very, very good dip drive, it's very solid, very vertical, not moving horizontally at all, if your feet aren't landing in the right position, or if your body mechanics aren't putting you in like a really sound, efficient position, it doesn't matter how good that dip drive is, you're going to be missing jerks left and right. So we're going to go over that again with Josh today. First thing we're going to do is establish a really, really good split stance for him. Now, if we were doing this with somebody for the very first time who had never done it, we would go through a lot more steps, but we're going to kind of go through it quickly with Josh just to kind of demonstrate the point and how we do it. So first thing we're going to do is get Josh to stand on the mats, squat width, and Josh sends his left foot forward. So we're going to go a box right here around his right foot. And then he's going to take his right foot, no, stand squat width still, right foot in front of the left, and he's going to step 1, 2, 3 foot lengths out in front of him. Awesome. So then we're going to box this for his forward foot. So this is a really, really good starting point to use for somebody to get about where their split stance is going to be for their leg length and their just proportions. So I'm going to get Josh to stand in a split up on his back toe with a flat front foot. Now, we use this to get the right length left to right, starting squat width so that he's spread out left to right, and then using those boxes with the 1, 2, 3 to get a good front to back position for his jerk. So even if he has his feet in a really good position, we have to learn how to use your body proportions and your body mechanics to settle in correctly. So what we see a lot of people do, actually like the resounding thing that we see people do coming in here from other gyms, is catching jerks with their front foot, leaving their weight in their front foot. So really quickly, we're going to show you Josh doing a good, very vertical, solid dip drive out of his heels, but landing with his weight in his front foot, just to kind of show you what that looks like before we start kind of tearing it down and show you what a more ideal thing would be. All right, so when Josh does that dip drive out of his front foot, what I kind of hope you notice is that he's moving forward. And if you think about everything that we went over in that last video, it all goes back to that same rule, that forward movement, forward momentum is only taking pounds off the bar or kilos off the bar. We're only taking weight off of the bar that he's going to be able to get overhead if he's doing anything forward separating from that midline. So right off the bat, if he braces with that front foot and just kind of sends his back foot back, he's moving forward, so he's not going to be as strong. But there's a couple other things wrong with that position too. So get Josh to stand in these boxes again, but shift all of your weight up onto your front foot now. Okay, so when Josh is in this position, if you notice, that back foot is really not doing much of anything at all. And this is even like a kind of good forward lean where he's still using his back leg. You can rest for a second. But what we see a lot of times people doing is when they split, this back foot just kind of donkey kicks out here where it's literally doing nothing to help support that position. It's just sitting back there as dead weight. And now, Josh, if you go back in that position one more time. Now, if Josh were holding, let's say, this PVC bar overhead in that jerk position with his weight super far forward over his front leg, if you draw a straight line from this barbell down to the floor, you can see that right now all of the weight that's overhead is being supported by Josh's lower back, which is super, super dangerous. One, because you're really likely to hurt your back if you're just pushing all that pressure back there. And two, that's just not a strong position. So it's going to be very easy to just drop a bar or feel like you're not stable and then lose it. So Josh, hold the bar overhead again one more time. Stay as far forward in that front leg as you can. And now let's shift your weight back onto your rear foot. Or I'm sorry, rear leg. So now when Josh does that, you can see, if you draw that same straight line from the barbell down to the floor, his entire body weight, or his entire body, his torso, his hips, all the way down to that rear knee, everything in that line is supporting the weight. So that's a much stronger and much more stable position. So you can come back. So we do a couple things to try to correct that position and try to get people to learn that we want to keep that weight in the back leg. And we're going to go through a really quick progression of that. The important thing to remember is that, again, we're going to go through this really, really fast, but you want to make sure that as you're doing this with somebody or as you're doing this yourself, that the lifter feels super, super comfortable and confident in the position before moving on, and also that they're very, very consistent. They're constantly hitting that position without having to think about it. So what I'm gonna get Josh to do is return back with his rear foot in this toe box with his squat stance all the way back. Now Josh is gonna go up on his rear toe, the same he would be as if he was in that split position, push all of the weight down into that foot, and then just step his front foot forward to brace. So the important thing to think about here is that back foot is bracing in the beginning and his front foot's just reaching out. Now come back, do it one more time, all of your weight into that foot, and then step into that front one. So notice his body is in that perfect position. So as the lifter, the important thing to be thinking about as you're doing this is exactly what your body feels like in those positions, exactly how your back leg, your front leg, your torso, your shoulders, how everything feels. So now we're gonna get Josh to hold this bar behind his neck with his jerk grip, elbows are straight down. This is the next progression. We're gonna do a behind the neck step and press. So Josh is gonna move all of that weight onto his rear leg, pushing that toe as far down into the floor as he can, and then step and punch. All right, back one more time. And step and punch. Awesome, see, he's still got that perfectly straight line. Now we're gonna step back again. We're gonna go to front rack. Josh is gonna do the exact same thing. With his elbows up, he's gonna put all that weight in his rear leg and then step and punch. Good, one more time, but get that front foot out a little bit more. Step and punch. Good, now remember, as the lifter, all you need to be thinking about is exactly what your body feels like in this position. All right, you can rest. We've got that good position established where we're not doing anything except for just stepping and holding. So hopefully if you do that enough times, again, with a lifter or with yourself, that'll establish some good muscle memory so you'll know exactly what that receiving position should feel like. But the problem is we've got to jump into that position. So we've got to use that good dip drive out of your heels, that good vertical dip drive to land in that position. So sometimes even when we've got that good position established, a lifter will revert right back to like donkey kicking their back leg out really stiff or just being very, very shallow with their front foot. So there's two things that we do to kind of help that. The first is a cue that's very, very simple, which is just one, if they're doing a good job staying vertical, to tell the lifter to brace with the back foot and reach with the front foot. So what that means is we don't donkey kick that back leg out, because if we donkey kick your back leg, one, you're not really going to be able to get a good split. Two, we're putting all of that pressure into your lower back, and that's just not a very strong or efficient position. So as you split, the back leg braces when the front leg reaches out. That's going to keep all of the weight back as opposed to shifting forward and very, very centered. The second thing is if that cue doesn't work enough, we're going to get Josh to grab an empty barbell. Again, this happens a lot if someone's just not comfortable with that split, or if it's really, really heavy. A lot of times people hesitate to really reach that front foot out. So Josh is going to go up in front rack. And what we're going to do is he's going to do a jerk, but we're going to put this PVC bar right here in front of his foot. So what's going to happen is if he does not reach his front foot out and brace correctly, he's going to trip over that PVC bar. So let's get Josh to do a jerk from that position. And hold that split. Think about exactly how that feels with that weight in your rear leg. All right, recover. Let's do one more. Right back here with that bar in front of his foot. And jerk. Good. So what you can see is when he's worried about having to make his leg get out over this, he doesn't really have any problem at all with reaching his leg, reaching his front foot out to brace. So just remember, back foot braces, front foot reaches to get that good leg position. That's all we're going to go over today as far as the leg positions of the jerk, is just getting that good split, that good forward reach, and that good back brace with a very vertical stance. Like I said in the last video, we've done these past two videos of one being concerned about getting a good vertical dip drive, and two, getting a good split where you're supporting the weight correctly in the jerk. For the purpose of leading into our next video, which again we're going to post in a couple days, which is a drill to get very, very consistent and comfortable with the movement of a jerk. So a lot of times what we see is even if you have a very, very solid dip drive, very vertical, very strong, and positionally correct, and even if you're able to get that good split with those good positions in your rear leg, a lot of times people have a whole lot of trouble catching a good jerk. You know, they'll either land with an incomplete extension or soft or out of position, or they have trouble getting underneath the bar. So the point of doing these last two videos is to establish these good positions so that we can then relay it into a drill that we've used with every single person in our gym to correct a jerk. And even if you're really good at a jerk right now, this will help establish confidence and consistency in the ability to drop underneath the bar. And if you got a ton of problems with your jerks, this will help, even more so. So first two things you got to be worried about is having that good solid dip drive, that good solid split with your feet, which is going to lead into the video that we're going to post again in a couple days. Again, thanks a lot for the awesome responses that we've been getting. If you're into these videos, click subscribe because there's going to be a lot more coming. That way you won't miss out on any. Also, make sure you visit outofstepbarbell.com where you can submit a lift of yours for video analysis that we'll send back to you with some tips for improvement. So check back in a couple days. We're going to be going over some rebound jerks. And until then, see ya.